Hey guys, it's Coach Fro from RocioFlores.com, and I just want to say hi to you guys. So I noticed recently that I hit my next mark on Instagram people, so I wanted to say hello to you guys, but also I wanted to do, I don't know if you've seen people post like, hey, welcome people, and these are 10 things about me, etc., right? So I wanted to do one of those videos because I see them all the time, but I don't think I've ever done one where I just share, you know, like my own little things about myself. Like if you go to my page, there's already like a little intro in there, and there's like, what do I do and who am I? But I wanted to do something that was more along the lines of, you know, 10 things that you probably wouldn't know about me unless I tell you. And so I have them written down. Today was actually really cool though, because I did a photo shoot and I've never done that, and so I'm sitting and waiting for her to finish with the editing of the pictures, so I thought I'd do it right now while I'm feeling a little like woohoo, you know. And so I wrote down 10 things that I want to share, and then I'll probably share this. I'm going to download it, share it on YouTube, and I'm going to share it on my Facebook, and then try to share it with, hello everyone. Since it's live, I'm saying hi to people. So the first thing I want to share is that I am a DIYer, you know, like do it yourself, DIY, like through and through. I love doing my own stuff. Like I cut my own hair, I do my own nails, I make my own graphics, I made my own website, I try to learn my own coding for it, I try to take my own pictures, I try to edit my own pictures. There's very little bit that I don't try to do myself first. I love being able to do things myself. I think part of it is, you know, I like the idea that I could say like, this is me, like I did all of this, right? But then part of me is also, you know, kind of cheap and doesn't want to pay for stuff. So that's the second thing about me, is I'm really thrifty. And like people say things like that all the time. They're like, oh, I'm cheap. And then I'm like, I learned that cheap doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. Like how much people pay for stuff is, to me, is always like way too much. So when I say I'm thrifty, I mean it. Like I try to make sure that everything I always go to like the dollar store or the thrift store first. That if anything, Walmart's like fancy. Like I grew up and Walmart was fancy for me. I know a lot of people see that as like the bottom rank of their cheapness. I'm pretty cheap, like really cheap. But I have no problem with that. I didn't come from a lot, so to me, you know, there's so much out there that you don't need to pay a ton of money for it unless it provides you with extreme value where it's worth it to put the money. And I would rather, in my life, I'd rather put money towards the things that have immense value for a long time, right? So that's the second thing about me. Also, if I feel like I could do it myself, I'm going to try to do it myself. It's not always the best choice. It doesn't always work out the best, but you know, that's just the way. So the third thing that I thought I'd share about me is that I don't know how to word this. I like to qualify things. I like to look at, so I've never been good at taking a side. Any kind of issue, anything, I am like, okay, what's every side of it? And in my eyes, you know, I try to make everything work within everything. So I remember like in 9th grade, we did it was like the first paper I ever had to write, and they asked us like, to choose a side, and we had to write like a persuasive essay, and I was like, I can't do that. Like I agree with both sides, and she let me write it. I remember she let me do a qualified paper, you know, she let me qualify the answer. Well, little did I know that kind of question is something that people still ask in my life today. I still talk to people about that. That's something that comes up in the news. It's something that comes up in politics and religion and theology and in all sorts of stuff. Hello, thank you for the little hearts. So it's actually really cool that back then I was able to allow myself to think about both sides, because these days I think it is really hard for people to see beyond what they believe. They look at their opinion first and foremost, and then they'll look at, and what happens is you get like that cognitive bias where you think you're looking at both sides and you think that you know, but you're not, right? And so when I say that I'm looking at both sides, like I mean it. Like if you tell me something, I'm looking it up. I'm looking up every single person's, and I'm asking several people, and it takes me a really, really long time to make up my mind on things like that, because I want to be sure. And there's a whole lot of stuff that I don't make up mind, you know, I don't necessarily have an opinion on, because I don't think there is an answer. I don't think that there's a right answer, right? So I try really, really, really hard not to do that. So the next thing kind of goes in line with that. So when I ask for advice, or when people ask me for advice, I think the way I think about this, Laugh my ass off, not the Spanglish. What do you mean? Sorry. I'm just reading the comments on here for those of you. I'll read the comments while I'm like doing a live, and then I watch it on YouTube later, and I'm like, that is gonna sound so weird to the people who don't have no idea that there's comments on the page. But there is, okay? So I wish I didn't have to hold my phone so I could look down. So what I mean by that is, okay, so when people ask me for advice, I'm not gonna give you my opinion. That's something that I try really hard not to give people my opinion unless somebody's asking me directly for my like specific opinion, because in all honesty, I don't always think that my opinion is the correct answer. So like if somebody asks me like, how do I deal with this situation, I will look up like, so what's the healthy way to deal with this situation? How do most people deal with this situation? What is it that could be happening on both ends? And I ask questions to try to find out, and that's the coach in me where I'm trying to find out, like, you know, what is it that people normally, you know, what could be behind this, or what are you not telling me, or what more information do I need in order to make up my mind on this issue? And then I'll give like a textbook answer, which is not always what people want. But in my opinion, if you want someone's opinion, you have to ask for an opinion, because the way I see it is, I'm not going to give you my opinion and then you make the bad decision and now it's on me because I said to do it. I will always give both ends. I will be like, and if I don't know, I'll either say I don't know, or I'm Googling. I'm like looking it up. I'm like looking up articles like, okay, is this right to say this? Does this make sense? Like, did this person, what happens if I would say this? And, you know, and then I'm like, maybe you should read this. And that's how I process things. Because when I ask for advice, I would hope that people put that much effort into giving me an answer versus just being like, you know, sure, you know, which isn't always the case either. So I kind of have to be a little careful with that. So, but if you ever ask me for advice, understand that there's going to be a lot of processing that goes into it before I give you an answer. I don't just give an answer just for the heck of it. I'm thinking about it. I'm talking about it. I'm looking it up. I'm putting a lot of work into that answer. The fifth one that I don't know how to word this. I don't know if there's a word or a name for this. So I think I struggle a lot with like surface level communication. Like, you know, people say that they struggle with small talk. I struggle with small talk. It has a lot to do with my anxiety, but I don't think I've ever really been good at it. I think I like to jump into the deep end. I like to just talk and get through to whatever we're talking about, and I'm not. And another part is a cultural thing, right? So I didn't grow up in the same environment as everybody else around me. I didn't hear the same things. So when people are like, hey, how's the weather? Like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know. I didn't look outside, or I should have checked, or like in my head, I'm like thinking, how am I supposed to answer that? Good, bad? Like, it doesn't just come to me, right? And so there's a lot that I struggle with when it comes to those kind of things. So the hi, hello, how are you, good, you, I will answer. I'll either have to practice it so that I don't sound weird, or I'm gonna sound weird, basically. So I struggle with that. So if I'm ever weird around you, if I'm talking to you, or we're having a conversation and I kind of skip through and start talking about something, or I start trying to get deeper into the conversation, it's because I want to have a conversation with you. You know, if I really don't want to have a conversation with someone, most of the time I'm not going to talk to them, but I dislike the idea of having just polite conversation for the sake of polite conversation, unless it's like a situation where you have to have that kind of situation, right? And so you know, it's not just that I don't like it, I'm just really bad at it. But you can get better at it though. And I have learned, and I have, you know, you learn how to do small talk, how to talk with people, and I've gotten a lot better throughout the years. But I've also gotten a lot less willing. So, like, if I don't feel like there's a connection, if I don't feel like people care, then I don't want to waste my time, I don't want to waste their time. So, yeah. The next thing, number 6, would be that I don't know how to word that. So, I guess the way I could say it is, I'm very impatient internally, but I'm very tolerant externally. So, like, I will be freaking out on the inside over a situation. But it takes me a lot for me to show it outside. So I'm not somebody, I try not to react, I don't like conflict, and then I like to complain myself about things, but I still do what I need to be doing. Does that make sense? You know, like, I think it's one thing to complain because something's too slow, it's another thing to try to make it go faster. You know, I understand that the world works the way it works, and my brain kind of doesn't care and will do what it wants. But it takes me a lot to be annoyed and show that annoyance. I wouldn't do that just for the heck of it. Which kind of goes to show that if I was to do it, it means something. You know, I wouldn't. I don't show my frustration right away. I have a lot of patience on the outside of me. I'm really good at just sitting there and letting it stew, which can be healthy and it cannot be healthy depending on the situation. Sometimes you have to decide what's worth it and what's not worth it, and sometimes you have to kind of force yourself to be a little bit less, you know, less willing to take it from people, right? So if I don't respond in the way people expect me to respond sometimes, I'm probably still processing it in my head. It's taking its time, it's stewing. I guess with that, another thing I could say is that I teeter-totter between being overly hyper and overly shy, and this has always been a thing in my life, like since I was a little kid, always. You know, I could be jumping off the wall, and the next thing you know, I'm just sitting there quietly, and I'm spacing out. And I always thought that, like, being too shy was a bad thing, you know, because everyone's like, don't be shy, and so I would try to change that. But then I quickly learned that being too hyper, people don't respond well to that either. So it's very frustrating because for the longest time, I felt like that was something I needed to change. Like, there must be a reason why I'm being that way, or why I can't control that, or why I want to be that way. And throughout the last few years, I've kind of realized that I should be able to be the way I want to be, because that's just what I'm feeling naturally. There's nothing wrong with it. That thing, as long as you're not hurting anybody or affecting anybody, right? So I've gotten to a point where I'm a lot better with it. But it is kind of weird, I think, to people when they see me. Some people know me as like super hyper, and some people know me as I don't talk at all. And to see the opposite end and to be like, what just happened? You know, it takes a long time to get to know me, to get to a point where, you know, like, you know, it's just Rocio. Also, so like on the hyper end, another thing is I love to make weird sounds. I like to sing weird sounds. I like to sing out loud. I like to, I probably feel too shy to do it online, but if you know me, like my family, my brother used to get so pissed off because, you know, I'd be sitting there singing all day out at the top of my lungs. My brother-in-law probably feel that way now that I live with them. And I mean, my husband's used to it. Like, we're like sitting in the car and I'm just like doing my random sounds, and I'm okay with that. That's something that I like about myself, because it entertains me and I enjoy it. And it's not as weird as, I used to think I was really weird. Like, I used to like, you can't sing unless you're like a perfect singer, and so I'd be so like shy about it. And now, you know, it's gotten so much easier to just do whatever the heck I want to do. And I hope that that's where everybody can get to, because as long as you're not hurting people, just be who you are, right? So another tip about me is that I love learning. And a lot of people say they like to learn, but they hate studying, or they you know, or people say I love to read, but then they don't read. Or when I say it, I mean it. If I say something, I mean it. I have like hundreds of resources saved on my computer that I could go over and over and over again. If I don't know something, I'm gonna look it up. Like, I'm just scrolling and I see somebody post and I don't understand a word, I'm gonna look it up, and then I'm gonna look up articles on it, and I'm gonna look up what do people think about this, and then I'm gonna look up this with the word scam and this with the word like good or bad, like opposite side, the pro con. I will spend hours just looking stuff up, learning new things. I'm probably on several watch lists on like the government, because I look up everything, and I look up everything. Like, if somebody says it on a TV show, I'm gonna look it up. If I don't know what it is, I'm gonna look it up. If I feel somebody saying something that sounds pretty sketchy, I'm gonna look it up. I have lists of like things to look up. I like to learn. I like to understand things. I like to. I find it to be fun. Not so much just like, I don't want to feel like I know a lot, but I like the process of learning and understanding new things. I like being in the loop and being able to understand what people are talking about, what they care about, whether or not what they're telling me makes sense. So it's something that I just love to do. It's so much fun to me. And it's also really annoying for a lot of people, because I think people don't care. So that's the next point. The last one is that I'm like hyper obsessive with my interests. I go a little bit too far and beyond, and there's a name for that. I just can't think of it right now. I'd have to look it up. But for example, I like Grey's Anatomy. I've watched Grey's Anatomy at least the first 10 seasons at least 14 times each episode, and then the new seasons kind of tapering off of that. I have the Grey's Anatomy textbook, and I read it for fun. I'm in like 6 Grey's Anatomy groups on Facebook, and I engage with the people. Like, I mean it when I say I like that. Like, it's my thing. I've watched every single Vsauce. I've watched every single ASAP Science on YouTube. I've watched like Number File. Like, there's all these other that are like math and science things. I like it. I don't know why. I didn't used to like it, and all of a sudden once I got into it, it's like I was really into it, and I'm like looking up all their stuff they're talking about, and I like every single thing they post. I have 500 books. Like, I'm really into books. And it's not that I don't think it's a big deal, but I have noticed a negative response to it, because people don't not to be as into things as you are. And so it kind of sucks to like not be able to talk about things in as much passion or as much like vigor as I want to. But I've learned that the people who care about you are going to listen to you. They're going to want to know about you, and they want to know the things that, you know, make you feel passionate and interested, and who, you know. And I think that's kind of like when I first started this page. I started it like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was scared to post anything. I was freaking scared to do videos like this. I had all these negative beliefs about myself and about who I am and what I should be. And I had people around me who would question me. So, you know, I get called weird all the time. I get, you know, people don't believe certain things, or they question me. And, you know, it kind of sucks when you have like that negative intake. And when you have a lot of those people in your life who are kind of constantly bashing on the stuff that you love, the things that are just about you, you're going to question because it's normal for you to want to know whether or not the things you know, who you are is normal, right? We're humans. We want to be normal. We want to be part of the pack. And the world likes to beat the crap out of that. They want you to be like everybody else. They want you to fall in line and be normal and do what others do. And, you know, it's, I think, helpful to really take time to look inward and to inspect yourself, and to try to see whether or not the things that are in your life, the things that are parts of you, are positive or negative, and will they help you or not help you in your life. You know, if you look back at me, who I was back in like high school, middle school, I mean 6 years ago after like college, I'm a completely different person. I can genuinely say that I'm a completely different person. I have very different beliefs. I have very different patterns, routines, behavior, thoughts, emotions. I'm a completely different person. But there's a lot of me that is still the same, that I wasn't showing back then, that I wasn't talking about, that I wasn't telling people, that I felt ashamed of, that I didn't feel like I could be myself. And it's taken a long time, a lot of years of me, you know, going to therapy and doing coaching and doing personal development and reading books and going to church. And, you know, it's taken a lot to get to a point where I'm like, wait, okay, so this is me, this is not me. It's okay to be me. And I gotta start showing it to the world. So, like, you know, the people in my life who know me really well, they know me. And they know I'm weird. And they're okay with it. And if they can love me that way, then anybody can love me that way if they want to love me that way. Right? And if they don't, then what am I doing trying to impress them? What are you doing trying to impress people that don't give a damn about you? So I just wanted to share those things about me, because I think that I can, you know, hopefully you can take a line, what's that saying? Like, take a line from my book, or take a line from my, something like that. Take a page from my book. Yeah. And don't wait too long to get to a point where you're okay with being who you are and liking the things about you that are maybe kind of weird, or expressing the things about you that you know are weird, but they're not that weird. A bunch of people do the same stuff. A bunch of people have the same interests. A bunch of people are just as passionate, or just as willing to look into the different sides, or are willing to research, or are willing to learn, or be weird, or just in general. There's so many people in the world who you're probably watching online, right? Like, there's people who you follow because they're just like you. You're just not willing to put that part of you out there and show the world that you're like that too. There's a ton of us out there. So if you're feeling like, you know, maybe you're feeling a little like shy, or you're inside and you're like, I don't know how to do that, or I can't do that. Yeah, you can. And if you need help, let me know, because I can help you. Trust me, I will find everything I can for you. So we will figure it out. But yeah, I think it's possible, and I would hate for it to take years and years and for you to feel horrible and ashamed of yourself just because the world tries to make you feel that way. These are 10 things about me. I'm a do-it-yourselfer. I am incredibly thrifty. I like to qualify every single opinion. I don't like to give opinions as advice. I am into deeper communications. I don't show what I'm feeling. It takes me a long time to boil. I love learning. I love to sing and be weird. I can be very obsessive about the stuff that I love, and I can go from 0 to 100 real quick. So tell me 10 things about you. I'd love to hear it. Either send me a message, or I'm going to post this in the comments. So watch this. If you didn't watch it, obviously go to the page and don't leave it here. Go to my comments and leave 10 things about you that you're proud of, that are uniquely about you, that you're okay with, and that you like about yourself. I had asked my husband, like, what should I talk about? He's like, well, tell him you're a cat lover. I'm like, I like my cat. Like, I don't really care that much about every other cat. Like, I'm not that crazy into cats. If anything, the thing about my cat that should tell people about me is the fact that my cat is extremely loving, and he loves me so much, and I never thought the cats could be that way, and he is. So that should tell you more about me than the fact that I like cats. Like, the only reason I post cat memes is because I like my cat. I don't know other cats. So don't just tell me surface level things about your favorite color or anything like that. Tell me some weird things about you. Tell me some things that are deep about you. I would love to hear that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm going to post it everywhere. If you like it, please like it and react or whatever. And if you have something to say, or you want to talk about any of these things, just send me a message, okay? Thank you guys. Have a great day.